Hi there, this is Teri from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this beautiful card. The shimmer on this card is gorgeous, both on the flowers and on the background paper. I've used the Forever Blossoms stamp set together with paper from the Parisian Blossoms Designer Series paper pack. So let's get started. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you are interested in reproducing it, you can take a screenshot and refer to it later. This is the Forever Blossoms stamp set, and I'm going to use the large floral image today and the love sentiment. Even though I'm watercolouring, I'm going to stamp on our normal weight Whisper White cardstock. I'll position my stamp centrally and then pick it up with my plate. I'm going to stamp using smoky slate ink, and I'm going to ink this up and stamp it twice to make sure I get a good impression. I'm going to start colouring using Pear Pizzazz ink, and to transfer some ink to the lid I just give the ink pad a squeeze from the bottom. Then I'm using my aqua painter to watercolour. This holds the water in the barrel, so when you want more water you just give it a slight squeeze and that will release some more. So I'm just picking up the colour and then covering the leaves in a light coating. Then before giving the leaves a second coat, I'll just go over the stems. To finish the leaves, I'm going to pick up some of the more concentrated colour from the top of my palette and go over all the veins in the leaves, just to give them some definition. To clean the brush, just work it gently on some kitchen paper until it runs clear. I'm using Calypso Coral ink for the flowers, and again I'm giving it a squeeze from the bottom to transfer some of that ink. So I'm going to mix some of the ink with the water just to tone down the shade, and then I'm going to give all my petals, all my flowers, a light coating, and I'm covering most of the petal. I'm just leaving a tiny bit of white space right at the tip of each one, and this just helps to give it a little bit of a contrast. Now, because I'm using normal weight Whisper White card, you don't want your brush too wet or too dry, because this will cause the cardstock to pill or sort of bubble up. So you want it wet enough that the brush moves freely across the paper, but you don't want the paper saturated. Once I've finished that first coat, again I'm going to pick up some of the more concentrated colour from the top end of the palette, and I'm going to apply this to add some depth and some contrast. Now, I'm no watercolouring expert at all, so I just do what feels right. And hopefully by the end of it I'm happy with the results. Now, most of the colour I'm concentrating down at the base of the petals, but I am adding little bits at the top as well. Finally, I'm going to add some crushed curry ink to the center of each flower. I'm going to cut this out using the largest of the stitched So Sweetly dies. Then I'm going to use the same die to cut some cardstock vellum, and you just want the bottom part of this. I'm going to show you how I position and stamp the sentiment onto the vellum piece. Now I have my image panel here, and unfortunately I've already added dimensionals to the back of it. I forgot, but it will still work. So I know where to position this because everything's still set up from my first card, but I'm still going to do a dummy run onto acetate first, because it may well be that I've stamped my flowers in a different position, so I might have to move my sentiment. So I'm going to ink up my sentiment and stamp it down onto the acetate, and I can see through where it will be on my image panel, and this time it was too close to those leaves, so I knew I needed to move it. Now instead of moving the sentiment, I'm just going to move my panel slightly to position that sentiment where I want it to appear. Then carefully remove my acetate. I'm going to use my magnet now so my image panel doesn't move, and position my vellum right on top of my image panel. Again, anchor it with the magnet to make sure it doesn't move. Then ink up my sentiment, and I'm going to very carefully stamp it down twice. Very carefully, because those dimensionals are on the back, so it's not a flat surface. Okay, and I was quite happy here. Now because we're stamping on vellum, the ink doesn't dry immediately, so you can emboss if you want, which is what I'm doing with clear powder. And then I can melt the powder with my heat tool. And then you can just trim off that vellum piece, and I trimmed it at 3 scallops high. Now adding glue to vellum can always be a bit problematic, but for little pieces like this I use my Xyron sticker maker, and this is a very inexpensive tool, but it works perfectly with vellum. You just need to run it through, give it a good press down, then peel off the front sheet and your sticker's ready to go. And I'm going to position this right at the bottom of my image panel. The image panel can then be layered onto the Calypso Coral mat. I have a Whisper White mat for the inside of the card, and I've already decorated this with a strip of the matching Designer Series paper from Parisian Blossoms and a strip of Petal Pink cardstock. Now this can be positioned inside the card. And this Designer Series paper is absolutely gorgeous. It has champagne foiling all over it. I have a Petal Pink mat and some more of the Parisian Blossoms Designer Series paper, which I've layered together already, and this can be added to the front of the card. I've already added dimensionals to the back of my image panel, so I can now remove the backings and position this. To create the beautiful shine on the flowers, I'm going to use my Wink of Stella pen and just give them a light coating. The shimmer this adds to any project is just gorgeous. Finally, to finish off my card, I'm going to add some of our new champagne basic rhinestones to the image panel. And that's it, my card's now complete. Just look at that lovely shimmer. And here's another look at my original card. The contrast colour I used for this one was Balmy Blue. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.